Left 4 Dead came out in 2008, but the game supposedly takes place in 2009. The main characters consist of Zoe, Lois, Francis, and Bill. Zoe's probably the nicest character out of the bunch and has a history of shooting guns, wanting to make movies and shit. Zombies ran down on her parents at their house and infected them both. She ended up killing them both though, just, you know, because she liked that. She's also implied to be the youngest of all the 4. Lewis was an IT dude who worked with systems and electronics. Lewis was actually at his work and bro was on the toilet shitting, and when the zombies busted in and started attacking him, he then proceeded to beat the fuck out of dude, and then he just sat there melancholically for a bit. He's also one of the happier survivors in the entire series. Francis is this cool biker man who's kind of retarded. He always hates shit, and right before the infection, he tried to steal a fucking flat screen TV, and how he got brought into the infection was he was about to fuck his girl, but then she went feral because of the infection and bit dude. His friend shot her, then Francis dipped. He ran. He got the fuck out of there. Bill is old as fuck and he's a military dude or something. He went to Vietnam. During a battle though, he got hit with shrapnel in his knee, and during the operation, one of the nurses went crazy. But since Bill is also like that, he fought off the nurse and got the hell out of the hospital. It's never really explicitly explained how everyone met each other, though it's implied that they haven't known each other for very long. So just keep that in mind as, you know, we go through all this shit. Now, before going into the lore, I'm going to explain the mechanics of the game, the zombies, and the weapons. I know most of you probably already know about this, but I'm just going to reiterate shit anyways, just as a reminder. I'll try and make it as visually interesting as I currently can for people who are already well versed in the game. Here's how the game works. There are 4 players, either bots or real people. There are 6 campaigns you can play in the game, each on average around 5 chapters. The goal of the first few chapters in every single campaign is to fight your way through hordes of zombies with as much firepower as you can get. With set equipment, you traverse through the unique chapters to get to a safe house. Each and every chapter starts and ends with a safe house and generally is your goal throughout the game, except for the last chapter. Usually the last chapter, as it's usually called, a finale, consists of completing a certain task, thus calling a radio or fueling generators, all the while fighting off waves of zombies until you are rescued or can flee. The game adds an interesting twist onto its hordes with the addition of Special Infected. Special Infected are a species of zombie that is more dangerous and more powerful than your average common infected. We're going to start from the bottom and go to the top. The common infected is the zombie you will be coming across the most and is definitely one of the weakest, ranging at only 50 HP. The thing that makes these infected powerful though is their mass in groups. They don't just travel individually. You are usually fighting off cliques of common infected, sometimes even huge masses of them when summoned. Now the next step up is the Boomer. The Boomer is arguably the weakest zombie in the game. It also has 50 HP, but its unique power is its stomach bile. By successfully vomiting on the player, that player will become soaked in Boomer bile, attracting zombies towards that one specific person. Also, if it is shot and killed, which usually takes no more than one good shot, it will burst into a huge explosion of bile, which can end up hitting whoever is in the blast radius. So in short, the Boomer is the great attractor for zombies, and if tempted, it can command them to attack whoever they please. Now next up after the Boomer is the Hunter. The Hunter is one of the most feared special infected in the game. It has 250 health and can climb on or off walls, and pounce long distances onto whoever survivor it wants. The survivor gets pinned, unable to do anything, as the Hunter slashes its way through their health. Since the amount of damage it does in a given time is immense, you always want to be with a group, because if you're alone or separated, you can be perfect prey for the Hunter and die in seconds. Now next to the Hunter is the Smoker. The Smoker is suited at 250 health and can dart its long tongue at any survivor it wants, dragging them towards them so they can beat the shit out of you. It stretches long distances. So for example, if a team is moving as a pack and a Smoker leeches them from the back left, the survivor will get dragged in that direction until another person can save them. The tongue does not do damage itself. It's only once you get close enough for the Smoker to claw at you do you start to see your health drain. Now onto the higher tier special infected, we have the Witch. She withholds 1000 HP and is interesting because it doesn't initially attack the survivor. It only attacks either when instigated through shooting at her, pushing her, etc. So this means you can sneak by her and not have to deal with her at all. This is absolutely in your best interest, as if instigated, the Witch can incapacitate any survivor it wants in a single hit, leaving them down. Once the survivor is down, it claws relentlessly at their body until either she is killed or she kills you. She's a very dangerous special infected that should be avoided at all costs. I forgot to mention she also runs faster than the player. Now finally, at the top rank of threats is the Tank. The Tank is the most feared enemy in the game, with a whopping 3000 health on easy, 4000 on normal, and 8000 on advanced and expert difficulties. It is a brute with a immense strength that can throw players far distances and can even pick up and chuck cars, dumpsters, and even rip concrete slabs out of the ground to throw at survivors. It is so powerful, it can potentially wipe out a whole squad of 4 by itself. Unlike the witch, this enemy cannot be avoided and will literally chase you down until it is dead. Now that you understand the dangers of the infected, now I will explain how you can defend yourself. There is a multitude of items within the game that help the survivors, such as the health kit. This is your basic healing item throughout the entire game and can be found in a lot of places on every map. No matter how low you are, the health kit will restore 80% of your health. There's another concept in the game where if you get incapacitated 3 times, you will die inevitably. However, if you use the med kit before that 3rd down, the counter will be reset, allowing you more chances to be incapacitated without immense punishment. This is literally the most important item in the game for any player. Now the next healing item available is the pills. Unlike its big brother, the health kit, it can shoot your HP up by 50 health points. However, it slowly drains back to your original HP over time. So for example, if you had 50 HP and took pills, you would be granted 100 HP, but only for a certain amount of time before it slowly makes its way back to your original health. Now there is more than just health items at your disposal, such as Molotovs. Molotovs are incendiary grenades that explode upon impact, leaving a crowd of fire to burn whatever walks into it, including your own teammates, so be cautious. It is also very effective against the tank. Pretty self-explanatory. Now the other throwable item in the game is the pipe bomb, which can be a saving grace in most situations. When thrown, it catches the attention of all the common infected within the area, and they all run after the pipe bomb, ignoring the survivors, leaving the ability to run away and flee. After a while, the pipe bomb explodes, killing all the zombies that ran after it in its radius. Now that we're done with all the equipment, we can move on to the fun part of the game, the guns. Now there isn't an insanely diverse arsenal of weaponry, however, the 6 weapons in this game fit perfectly. The M1911 pistol is the gun every single person starts off with and will permanently have no matter what. It does 36 damage per shot, so it's not really that great. However, there's no other secondary weapons in the game, so it's better than nothing. You can find other pistols scattered around the map, allowing you to dual wield the pistol. This allows for more fire rate, damage, and magazine size. Now our first primary weapon is the Uzi submachine gun. It is always in your stash at the start of any campaign. It does 20 damage per shot, however, its fire rate makes up for it, being able to shoot 1 shot every 0.0625 seconds, which added up is about 16 shots a second. It has a magazine size of 50 bullets as well. It's a great choice for a starter weapon, but some like myself would argue that the pump shotgun may be the better option. It does 250 damage per shot, and it's available to pick up at the beginning of any campaign along with its Uzi friend. It has 8 shots in a mag, and it's a pump, so the fire rate is low, with 1 shot per second. The reload is also much slower and reloads about 2 shots per second, so it takes around 5 seconds to reload fully compared to the Uzi's 2-second reload time. But the damage is so powerful on this shotgun that you can literally one-shot any special infected besides the tank and witch with only 1 pump of the gun when close enough. Now, those were all considered tier 1 weapons, so now we'll be moving towards tier 2 weapons, starting with the hunting rifle. The rifle itself isn't really as good as the other tier 2 weapons, albeit it's fun to use. It's the only gun in this game you can actually scope in with, and it doesn't lose damage over range like most other guns do. It's precise with its 90 damage per shot and its fire rate of 4 shots a second. It has a magazine size of 15 and honestly is not a bad choice at all. If you're looking for a replacement for the Uzi, the M16 assault rifle has you covered indefinitely. Just like the Uzi, it holds 50 shots a mag but shoots 11 shots a second. However, it does 33 damage per shot, leaving it to be a better version of the Uzi. In reality, the tier 1 weapons are just as good in their own right, and it just comes down to preference at the end of the day. In my personal exception though, the tactical shotgun is what I believe to be the most powerful gun in the entire game. If you watch any speedrun or anyone who's played this game a lot, you will see them gravitating towards this weapon naturally, and rightfully so. It does 300 damage per shot with a mag size of 10, and instead of only shooting 1 shot a second, you can shoot 3 shots a second. That means it's so powerful you can kill a witch within 3 to 4 shots of the gun. It has a wide range of fire, so you can hit multiple zombies at once as well. It's generally considered to be the best weapon in the entire game by community standards. Now, finally, we're done with all of this shit. We're done with all the tutorials. We're done with all the recap. Now we can actually move on to the actual story. Although for what I've been hyping up, this game itself isn't really that deep. Like, I mean, there isn't some like deep underlying like lore, meaning, or anything like that. It's just a cool story and a cool game that I think deserves its own video. I know people who don't know anything about the game are probably mad about that, but you know, it is what it is. Now, the first map canonically is No Mercy. Before hearing on a radio that there's going to be a rescue helicopter willing to get them near Mercy Hospital. Forgot to mention, this map takes place in a city called Fairfield. So then the campaign runs through 5 chapters overall. Chapter 1, the apartments, where you just run through apartments. Self-explanatory. Chapter 2, the subway. You run through a subway station. Nice. Chapter 3, the sewer. Do I really have to do this for all of them? Chapter 4, the hospital itself, where you run inside and fight your way up and around it, literally going upwards. That's different this time, I guess. And then the rooftop finale, where the survivors fight an onslaught of zombies until the helicopter arrives. After No Mercy, the next map is Crash Course, which was actually released later as a DLC to bridge together No Mercy and the map after, which you will wait and see what it is. You probably already know. As they're flying in the helicopter, the pilot turns into a zombie, which Zoe obviously, shoots him. Then the chopper crashes outside of Fairfield. This campaign only withholds 2 chapters. The alleys, which is exactly how it sounds. Survivors running through alleys and over top of a bridge. And then the second chapter, the truck depot finale, which they stumble upon a truck depot with a conveniently placed zombie-proof military truck inside of it on a lift. The survivors use a generator to lower it, then drive off. Awesome. Next up is Death Toll. They believe that the military might be holding off in a city named Riverside, so they make their way over there, only to drive in front of a broken down bridge. This is where the first chapter starts, and there are 5 in this campaign, and since I already told you the lay of the land of the first one, I'm gonna start from 2. The drains, more sewage. Chapter 3, the church. They head towards an evening service and fight off waves of zombies triggered by bell rings. And there's a dickhead inside the church too. Thankfully, he gets turned. He got what's coming to him. Chapter 4, the town. Literally just traversing through a town. And then the final chapter, the boathouse finale. The survivors make their way towards a boathouse, call for help, and fight off waves of zombies while waiting. Once the boat gets there, the rescue sails off with the survivors on board. Now, Dead Air. Dead Air starts off with the survivors in a greenhouse. You may be wondering, how the fuck does this correlate with the boat? Well, apparently they got kicked off and robbed for their shit, so they went up to the greenhouse to stay temporarily. This campaign holds another 5 chapters. Number 1, the greenhouse, where they fight on rooftops and get to the lower street level. Chapter 2, the crane, where they head over to another rooftop with a crane which helps them cross buildings. Chapter 3, the construction site, where they blow shit up, move forward, and find themselves at the airport near the end of the chapter. Chapter 4, the terminal. Now at the airport, they fight through the entire thing to finally arrive at the runaway finale, where the survivors come across one of the only remaining passenger planes. The pilot begs them to help them refuel, which they do. Then they fight off hordes, then set off. Now before I get into the next one, I found something interesting while researching this. There was actually a cut campaign that was supposed to bridge together the next map in Dead Air, named Damn It. You get it? Now, this is an unplayable campaign unless you play Left 4 Dead 2, which people have recreated it on the workshop. Apparently, hella tanks spawn because the map size is just so big. I don't have much more to talk about it because it's an unfinished campaign, but I just thought it'd be cool to mention. Now, the next official release is Blood Harvest. It's implied that their rescue aircraft is crashed, so they camp out in the forest. They learn about a nearby military outpost, then set off. It's your average 5 chapters again. Chapter 1, the woods. They head through the forest and fight their way towards Chapter 2, the tunnel, which is a train station that got all fucked up. After running through the train tunnels, they move to Chapter 3, the bridge. They follow train tracks down through the forest and make their way towards some broken down trains, in which they hit some shit to make a bridge up a hill. Next up, Chapter 4, the train station. They follow more train tracks through a forest and eventually stumble upon, you guessed it, another bridge. After crossing this bridge, you are now introduced to Chapter 5, the farmhouse finale. After making it to the farmhouse, they call for help on the emergency radio inside of it, and then another big ass truck comes rolling in to save them. Now, the final campaign is called The Sacrifice. This campaign is actually probably the most lore intensive out of the bunch. They arrive on another train and find themselves at Chapter 1, the docks. This campaign only has 3 chapters, and this one they fight through a boat shipyard thing to head on over to a warehouse. Chapter 2, the barge. It starts with you leaving the warehouses and running over towards a different section of the shipyard, where the survivors climb up a big ass hill and climb aboard an abandoned barge. I had to look up what the hell a barge is. Apparently it's a big ass boat. They use it as a bridge to cross over to the next section. Now, the port finale. Now this is one of your average survival slash fight off wave thing where you repower a generator over and over and keep going until you complete your objective, which in this case is heightening a bridge for them to cross. However, once it raises to a certain point, it stops. This requires for someone to go restart the generator. Although in-game anyone can sacrifice themselves to go do it, canonically, Bill is the one to sacrifice himself for the other survivors. And so that's where Bill sacrifices himself, and that's kind of where the in-game story leaves off. Now obviously there's more to the game, like different game modes, like Versus, where you can have the ability to play as a special infected yourself and hunt other players. And then there's also Survival, where you have a large section of maps to choose from where you try and survive for as long as possible. But I'm not here to go over absolutely everything about the game, just the necessities. If you're really interested in where the story goes from this point, there's a sequel and about 5,000 other videos about it. Maybe I'll make one about the second game later on. I'm definitely doing more video essays though, because this was actually fun to work on, unlike my usual shit posts. Hope you all are okay, and I'm finally done with this video. More boring average male YouTuber video essays incoming, so stay tuned.